So having two daughters, I probably have watched more than my fair share of Disney movies, especially Disney princess movies. And I was wondering, do you have a favorite Disney princess also? I mean, personally, I like Cinderella and Snow White, but they both seem a little too excited about cleaning for my taste. Now, Ariel and I both like to swim in warm water and look at beautiful fish, but I'm kind of disappointed with the way she just abandoned her mer people for a guy she had just met and hadn't even had a real conversation with. I do identify a lot with Aurora. We both talk to animals and are really good at taking naps. But I have to say, my favorite Disney princess is Princess Leia. I know, she's in Star Wars, but that's technically Disney now, so I think she counts, right? What I like about Princess Leia is that she's not a pampered princess. She doesn't just sit back and have everyone wait on her. She's not afraid to get her hands dirty and do the hard work. And over again, she risks her life for her people. That's pretty admirable. But if you watch closely, even kind of in the side shots, even Princess Leia has servants. All of the Disney princesses do. All of royalty in any movie that you ever watch, there are always people kind of on the sidelines where it seems that their purpose is to serve royalty. Often they seem to be very proud of serving kings and queens and princes and princesses. It's like they find honor in being at the beck and call of someone who just happened to be born into the right family. Now, sometimes in certain shows and movies, it may seem like there's a fear element, that if they don't do their job well, they're going to lose their head. But often I'm kind of surprised at the joy and delight these peasant characters seem to have in having purpose with serving others. And not just in movies, but in real life. Did you know that there is a woman whose job it is to break in the shoes for the Queen of England? Lest Queen Elizabeth ever get a blister, this woman has walked around in all of her shoes before she has. Think back and imagine when this woman was born with me. Her loving family looking upon their newborn baby girl, wondering what will become of her life. How will she change the world? Maybe she'll become a doctor and bring healing. Maybe she'll be an artist and bring meaning. Maybe she'll be a teacher and enrich minds. Or maybe, just maybe, our little girl will grow up to break in the shoes of the Queen of England. No, I joke. And maybe that's not fair, because from what I understand, this woman really does believe that this is part of her calling and her purpose. And maybe it is. I mean, maybe if Queen Elizabeth's toes were pinched or she had blisters, she would be too cranky and distracted and make poor decisions that could affect millions of people. So this maybe really is an important job. Well, today on Christ the King Sunday, we're hearing a story about another family who's looking on their newborn baby and thinking about how he will have an impact on the world. Just earlier in Luke, we will have read about how Zechariah was visited by an angel when Elizabeth was pregnant. And the angel revealed to Zechariah what his son's purpose would be, and some exciting news about what would be coming up in the near future. And so now Zechariah's son was born and named John, and Zechariah got his voice back. And with it he spoke loudly and shared with those around this good news that he had been told, that the Messiah was coming soon, that God would be keeping God's promise to send them a king, that this was not a king who would need to be pampered with butlers and maids, but this was a king who would save them from their enemies and bring mercy. And Zechariah's son, his baby boy John, he would grow up to be a servant to that king, to prepare the way, to be a prophet. Zechariah shared that John would impart knowledge and mercy, and he would be a light to shine and guide others towards the Christ. Now, those of us who know John the Baptizer's story know that Zechariah spoke the truth. John was set aside. He did grow strong in the Spirit and his faith. But he was also a little different. A little out there. He lived in the wilderness. He ate bugs and honey. And yet God still called him to be a servant to the king. And John was willing to live his life and to give his life for that honor. Now, John might not have literally broken in Jesus' sandals, but he did prepare the world, announcing this good news that the king was coming, that Jesus was near, who would bring salvation and forgiveness to all. John was called and made the world ready to help get our hearts ready and right with God, to invite people to repent and be baptized. He did all that. This little baby boy. His life had purpose and meaning. His father was right. more love and adoration than Zechariah looked on this baby knowing what he would grow up to be and to do?
Yeah.
God looks at each of you. You see, each of you have been created on purpose and with purpose to serve the King. Each of you have been given gifts and talents and experiences and lenses that are unique to you. In your baptism, you have been adopted as God's children, as heirs to the kingdom, as royalty yourself, as princes and princesses. But not the sort of princes and princesses to just sit around and get pampered. We are called to go out and get our hands dirty and to serve God's kingdom, just as Princess Leia served hers. We are called to worship the King of Kings, the Prince of Peace, the Lord of Lords, and to uphold his mandate, his command, to love all others as he loves us. We are called to go forth, bearing that good news to all the world. Now, my friends, there's no one here who is too young or too old for this mandate. If you are here with intention. You have been called here. And there is a job that God has for you that no one can do so well as you. The good news is that God isn't done with any of you yet. There is still work to be done. There is work for you because we serve at the pleasure of the King. So on this Christ the King Sunday, I invite you to ask yourselves, in what ways do you feel called in new and unusual and unconventional ways to serve the King with joy and delight and pride, sharing that good news in word and action? In what ways are you being called to break in the sandals of Christ, to help make this world ready, to prepare us for Christ to reveal his kingdom in our midst? Amen.